What's up, people? I'm Shaggy, the Opinionated Hippie, continuing my deep dive in my search to find the greatest covers album of all time. I'm going to mix it up and do single artists doing covers albums in which they cover a lot of artists. Now I'm going to do a bunch of albums in which lots of artists cover a single artist. And then after I think I'm going to do 7 of each. I'm going to do it in groups of 7 in honor of the band I'm talking about today and their Screaming Dizbusters. Then I think I'm going to try to do 7 in which one artist does one artist. So we're going to balance these things out. But today, as you can see, we have Dominance and Submission, a tribute to Blue Oyster Cult. This was an effort put together by the late Stephen Hanford, the Slayer hippie drummer. He drums on a lot of these tracks. He's the one that sort of initiated this project and got a bunch of people to do it. It's a good listen. I am a huge Blue Oyster Cult fan. Probably they're in my top 5 of all time great bands. If I had to rank bands, of all the bands I've seen live in my life, 3 far exceed the others. Grateful Dead by far the most. Fish catching up, but probably won't catch up to the Dead. And then Blue Oyster Cult in 3rd place easily. I enjoyed this album. I'm going to go through each song. What I'm going to do when I rank these albums, I'm going to give each song will get 1 point or no points. I'm actually not above giving half points on some of these. But it will get a point or a half point based on how well they go just beyond the song. A really good version of the song that doesn't do anything but copy the song is not going to get a point. There's a number of these on here. I enjoyed listening to them. I thought they all had highlights. But more than anything, they made me want to go back to the original. If you make me want to go back to the original, you're losing points. So we got 13 songs, mostly early Blue Oyster Cult. The most recent song we have Veteran of the Psychic Wars from Fire of Unknown Origin. We have, I think, a couple songs from the debut album, a couple songs from the second. Yeah, we got a second album song. We got several songs from the first album. Second album song, stuff all the way up through Spectres, and then we go to Fire of Unknown Origin. Anyways, 13 songs. For the most part, musically great. I think one of the weaknesses of this are the vocals. There's a number of songs that are done by female vocalists, and those are instant wins because I don't think it's an apple to oranges comparison. Eric Bloom, essentially, he's the one. A lot of these covers Bloom as the lead vocalist, and I'm like, I just want Bloom's vocals and as opposed to whoever is singing these. So a lot of times I'll be invested musically, and then the vocals start. And I'm like, yeah, it's not Blue Oyster Cult. But yeah, what do we got? Opens up with a pretty good version of ME 262 by Mondo Machine. I think it's mostly missing the vocals. It's pretty straightforward. They got the effects, like the sound effects of wars and planes and all that kind of stuff in there. It's good. Sounds good. It's a great lead-off track. But it's a pretty faithful recreation of the original. Flaming Telepaths is next. Another one that's a pretty faithful recreation of the original. They do something interesting in that little middle instrumental section where the synth has that first little solo. The guitarist does that solo. And then after the synth solo, there's that little piano piano part. The synth does the piano part. So it's interesting, but I think it works better in the original. The nice ending jam at the end when they build that repetitive thing. A nice guitar solo at the end. I'm like giving this one a half a point. The guitar solo is pretty good. I like the way they tweak the middle. It's different enough for me to like, all right, this is why half points exist for covers like this. Dominance and Submission is next by a group that calls themselves Cosmo Demonic Telegraph Company. Features Mark Lanigan and Nick Oliveri. Pretty good lineup. Pretty straightforward version of Dominance and Submission. But the energy is good. The singing is good. When we get to the Dominance, Submission, radios appear, that part has a little bit of a funkier vibe. And once they run through the solo and the ending thing, they go right back into the song. So there's like this sort of reprise jam at the end with a little guitar, a little keyboard action. I like it. This is one of those where like if I had a criteria of like, all right, you got to do this different, you got to do this different, you got to do this differently, this song would probably fail all those because this is a pretty faithful recreation of dominance and submission. But the energy is really, really good. The ending jam just makes it feel a little more like they did something with it. I like the dominance and submission radios appear part. I'm giving it a point. Godzilla is next. This is how you cover a song. The really low kind of muted bass is doing the dun, really just low, leaning into some doom action. They throw in this like proggy psyche jam in the middle that is not part of like the original song. Yeah, it sounds like Godzilla music. Doesn't always necessarily sound like Godzilla, but if you're going to make a movie about Godzilla and you're going to show him destroying Tokyo, this is great Godzilla soundtrack music. This is a win. Screaming guitars, that bass doing the main riff. Vocals are okay, could be better. The breakdown is awesome, some trippy keyboard work. Yeah, I'm all about this Godzilla. This is a win. First one on this album to really do something kind of dramatically different, like you know it's Godzilla, but they're doing something fresh with it. 100% a win. Transmaniacon MC follows. This is by, Godzilla was by Howlin' Giant featuring Bob Balch. Transmaniacon MC is covered by Tony Reed. The Slayer hippie is drumming on this. Pretty straightforward Transmaniacon MC. Vocals work. Not doing much with this. Sounds great. Pretty true to the original. Doesn't get a point, but it's a good listen. Wings Wetted Down. It featuring Andrea Vidal. This is awesome. This is doomy. Reminds me of Windhand. If you don't know Windhand, that doom band. This kind of reminds me of that. It's heavy, leaning into the heaviness of this. Absolutely awesome. It sounds like Wings Wetted Down, but immediately you're not going, oh, this is Wings Wetted Down. It takes a while for you to have that realization. Nice interpretation. And Andrea Vidal is a vocalist for Holy Grove. I think they're out of Portland or Seattle or somewhere in the Northwest. Good little band. Tattoo Vampire by Mondo Generator. Nice bass in this. Bass playing's good. Pretty straightforward version of Tattoo Vampire. Veteran of the Psychic Wars by Ape Machine. Pretty straightforward version of Veterans of the Psychic Wars. Pretty good solo in the middle. I was really hoping they would do something a little more different and try to get away from the dun 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 dun, that drum pattern, because it is such a signature and defining part of this song. That they're playing a pretty faithful cover of this. It's a good listen, but it did make me want to go find a live version of this and listen to a live version of this. Cities on Flame with Rock and Roll, pretty straightforward Cities on Flame. I do actually think this one might be a little too busy. You're losing the awesomeness of the drums, especially that kick drum. Some of that kick drum action on this song. And just, there's a cleanliness and a directness and a sparseness to the original that I think there's just too much going on. The drummer's a little too busy. The drummer's got too much skill he's got to show off on this. Kind of wish I think it works better in the Blue Oyster Cult version because it is so straightforward and to the point. Zeke covers this. Stairway to the Stars by War Cloud, featuring Janice Gonzalez, Austin's own Janice Gonzalez. Another one in which, simply by having a female vocalist, I think we're already kind of ahead of the game because we don't have to compare ourselves to Bloom. This is a completely different version of Stairway to the Stars. Instead of that, I've seen Blue Oyster Cult who knows how many times, dozens upon dozens upon dozens upon dozens. And a lot of times they open with Stairway to the Stars, and it's a great opening song. That great dun 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 dun, just coming out with that awesome opening riff. This is a slow, chugging, almost like blues rock version of it, where it's like just really chugging along that riff. Whole different vibe, wailing guitar, a heavier footprint all over the place, just kind of letting it breathe a little more, but with heavy blues energy. Yeah, this is another absolutely fantastic reworking of a song. Stairway to the Stars, and the vocals are great. Janice is very over the top, very bluesy, very wailing, but I think it works. Fireworks by Year of the Cobra. This is a really nice bass intro instead of the guitar intro. It's a softer, eerier, not as obviously brightly poppy as the original. It works well. I like it. It's a good choice. Doesn't really blow me away, but I think they do enough with it to make it a worthwhile listen. Seven Screaming Dizbusters by Fetish. Vocals, no, no, no. Pretty faithful recreation of this, down to the guitar solo, down to the licks. At the end, when they do the guitar and the drum and when they say those things and all the soloists do it, I'm forgetting what they say now. And their lives of pain, all that kind of stuff. They do a little more improv there and let the guitars wail a little bit more, but it's pretty faithful, and I don't think it adds much to the original. I'm going to say no to this one. And then Don't Fear the Reaper. The riff is not there. It's this whole other thing. The verses are kind of deconstructed, just coming at it from a different angle. The middle section in the breakdown, the guitar thing is the same. The verse chorus thing is at times different, at times the same. I don't know if it works, but they're taking chances. They have that fade out at the end that's on the studio version where they just kind of play the same thing over, that repetitive nature, and then it fades out. They do that repetitive thing and then they fade it out. And then they tack on this like 1.5, 2 minute space jam that's like got some synthy sounds and some bass and some noisy stuff. And it's just like this weird, airy, atmospheric thing that doesn't seem to have any relation whatsoever to the song, except maybe if the song is about don't fearing the Reaper, and at the end the Reaper is, you walk into the arms of the Reaper, then maybe this is like the journey to the afterlife, and this is the coda of what would happen musically if the song's lyrics were played out. So maybe. I give it half a point because I don't think it really works. Not sure I like it, but I like the chances that they take. So yeah, really, 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 really interesting album. I enjoyed it as a Blue Oyster Cult fan, even though I'm not giving points to all the songs. The stuff that I'm not giving the points to, the recreations were pretty good. The energy was good. The playing is good. And yeah, they're just consistently reminding me of what a fantastic band Blue Oyster Cult is. So, 6 points. I'm giving it 2 extra points just for the song selection, the consistency, all of it. Just all of it. I love it. I really enjoyed this. So it's a 62% success rate, which as of now is the second highest cover album I've heard so far, with Ann Wilson's Hope and Glory by far being the best. Maybe not by far, 10%. But that one, she really does a lot of interesting things with those songs, which is a variety of different artists that she's covering, variety of different songs. I really, really like that. But this, I enjoyed listening to this a lot. This was a fun listen, especially if you're a BOC fan. And if you're not a BOC fan, this could open the door for you into the world of BOC because it's pretty good. Yeah. All right. But yeah, those are my thoughts on this. My BOC tribute album. Not mine, but the one I'm reviewing. All right. I'm rambling. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, share, comment, do those things. Let me know if you check this out and all that kind of stuff. And peace. Talk to you later.